Ooh, I've got the top fans feature now. Neat. So now you guys can earn little badges. I think they're pretty much meaningless, but hey. It'll be cool to see who ends up with the top badge tonight. But in any case, not a whole lot going on that's really all that meaningful in the news. Not a whole lot of developments have happened since yesterday, so unlike a few days ago, I don't have a bunch of news to come at you guys with. So that's why one of the things in the title today is bring your own topic, because I really don't know. I don't know exactly what we're going to talk about today. There's only so much meat I'm going to be able to add to the bone of Ayatollah Khameini telling the Iranian people that the U.S. didn't damage anything and that the Iranian missiles damaged a bunch of shit. Only so much meat I can slather onto that bone. We went down to the river, down to the river we ride. I will tell you guys though, this Iran shit is not over. There's a very shaky ceasefire in place, but the rhetoric of the prime minister is pretty fucking clear. Well, I don't know if he was the prime minister I was reading or the president. I forget the position of the person that I was just reading a quote from, but the rhetoric that's being indicated right now is pretty intense. So it really will be interesting to see what the next couple of years look like in terms of our relationship with Iran. Israel claims that they struck Iran out of a sense of out of a sense of prevention, like they want to stop Iran from being able to make nukes, but the U.S. intelligence community had been saying that they were nowhere close to making nukes. So was that the reason why? And so a big thing that I have been putting out there lately is this idea that this might have just been an attempt by the United States government to see how well the American people will tolerate us getting into another open conflict with Iran. That ceasefire probably doesn't mean anything, sadly. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying as well. I really think the ceasefire is kind of a political maneuver. I think it's a political maneuver for Trump to temporarily stop the divisions that were happening within MAGA. And I think it's a political maneuver to divert tactics, basically. Like I said, I think that they wanted to test the waters. They wanted to see if the American people would be okay with the American government renewing a war effort in the Middle East. And basically what we told them through the anti-war protests that were happening and the dissension within the MAGA ranks and everything else, what the American people told the United States government was, no, we do not approve of another war effort. We're not ready to go back to war in the desert. Please keep us out. And I think that now they're going to be looking for some other option to get the Shah's son reinstalled as Shah in Iran. Don't worry, kids. The monarchy is coming back. Netanyahu needs to be a wartime prime minister to keep power or something like that. Oh, is that true? You think that's true? That wouldn't surprise me. That really wouldn't surprise me, but I don't think it's that necessarily. I have a different theories that America wants regime change. I think America and Israel both want regime change in Iran. They would like Iran to be governed by something like the Shah, who maintained a very friendly relationship with Israel and maintained a very friendly relationship with America. And they would like Iran to be ran by those folks again. And that's not going to happen unless we go to war with them, or unless we find some kind of covert action plan to replace their current leadership and regime with an American puppet regime. But yeah, until we know, right? We're not going to know until we hear news of more strikes, and we're not going to know anything about those strikes until the experts get back to us and all this shit. I mean, news moves fast in the modern world, but when shit's not happening, the news can only do so much speculation, and my dumb stoner ass can only do so much speculation, frankly. What I am certain of is that regime change is coming to Iran. What I'm not certain of is what form that's going to take. Because the possibility that the United States does decide to find some reason to get us into a land war with Iran, that possibility is never off the table, as long as Israel remains feeling spurned and put aside by the United States' willingness to allow Iran to continue existing. As long as Israel takes exception to Iran's existence, this conflict will always be on the table. It's one of those things that doesn't exactly have a super easy out. You have a channel for DoorDash drivers? That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Feel free to link it in the chat if you want to, Glitch Dash. I'm sure your dad wants to be referred to as a sperm donor. I think he would take quite a bit of offense to that, actually, considering he's like still in my life and fairly involved, but who the fuck knows? I've never asked him. Nor has it ever occurred to me to genuinely call my father that. Even when my parents were divorced and not together, which was the truth for 10 years, I did not have nearly the amount of resentment towards my father that my mom did. Man, people just make such broad, sweeping assumptions about other human beings that they see online, don't they? Man, human beings are presumptuous fucking douchebags sometimes. Not all of us. Obviously, there's plenty of people that aren't like that, but the fact that so many people end up being like that because of some fucking series of events in their lives is fucking saddening more than anything, honestly. Anyway, what do we want to talk about? Because like I said, nothing's going to happen on this Israel-Iran situation until we know more about the actual scale of the damage in Iran. And we're probably not going to get to know about the scale of damage in Iran. That's the fucking sad thing about it, right? So, like, the Ayatollah has not made any mention of the IAEA or the IAEA since this conflict began. And the government has recently passed through some legislation that actually prevents them from being monitored. It basically forbids the government from allowing the nuclear monitoring agencies to get in and have a look at these nuclear sites. So at this point, I want you guys to realize something. We are now in a fucked up position. Hi, Calico. We are now in a fucked up position, though, where we probably weren't facing a nuclear-armed Iran before. We probably weren't even facing an Iran that wanted to be nuclear-armed. Now, we are. So now regime change is inevitable. What's up, Big Gabe? What's up, what's up, what's up? Make sure everybody's liking the stream as you come in. That is the best way that you can rocket this stream into the algorithm. And there's an algorithm going even at 12 a.m. Well, I guess it's only 12 a.m. for me and people that are also in CST, but you get what I mean. Anyway, regime change is now inevitable because they are effectively forbidding any nuclear watchdogs from having direct access to their technology, which means that Israel and the United States are both going to be pissing themselves with the idea that Iran is racing towards development of a nuke. This rhetoric that Trump's coming out with, that they're only years away, watch that dissolve within a couple of months. Watch that dissolve over the period of a couple of months, maybe a year or two, as slowly but surely it becomes more and more obvious that Iran is doing something out there in the desert. Something nuclear. The algorithm is working because this popped up and I was like, cool, I'll hop in. I just wish the algorithm would work a little better. You know, it's pretty unusual for us to be sitting at 10 minutes in and 5 fucking viewers, but it happens sometimes. It does happen. It does happen sometimes. Ow. $50K what? Actually, I can't find a number. A number of what? I'm so confused. So what's the best way to handle this crazy world now? Probably unplugging, honestly, is probably the best thing that we could all do for ourselves, but we're not going to do it. Everybody's too drawn in by the allure of the news and interacting with other people, and I don't know. Nobody wants to be unplugged right now, but ultimately I think that that's probably the best thing that we could all do for ourselves, right? And I try to engage in some of that. You know, I don't stream all day long, obviously. I just started this one, and I hadn't streamed all day today, so and in the time that I'm not streaming, you know, I spend more time than I would like reading news articles and watching, watching YouTube videos or watching documentaries or doing shit like that. Just like interacting with the internet and the media world, sometimes to the exclusion of interacting with the outside world. Now, I probably still do that, as in interacting with the outside world more than like the average internet denizen, but it's not something that I engage in nearly as much as I used to, for example, when I was living on the road, or even as much as I used to when I was younger, when I was a teenager. And ultimately, I think that that sort of thing is helpful for people because there's a sad truth, right, to the media environment that we all now find ourselves in, which is that as long as you're listening to a podcast or listening to music or anything like that, your mind can be continuously brought back um, to world events and current events and what's going on in the rest of the country and in the rest of the world and all that. But if you actively take the decision to not listen to anything, to turn everything off, and to just like exist in your garden for a while, or exist in your yard for a while, or exist in a natural area somewhere near where you live for a while, or even just exist in your own home. Like, just sit around on the couch with nothing going and really take in where you live and where you're at and like be present in that moment. You know, I think the reason so many people are able to live in utter deprivation and utter filth when it comes to like the upkeep of their home. And I know some people would judge me for like this place being kind of a mess, but really this place is like not badly kept up in terms of cleanliness. It's just not, you know, it's not a finished outbuilding. It's just like half covered in drywall. There's some leaks on the roof, so some parts have gotten like water damage and shit. But it's not due to a lack of like cleaning or organizing on my part, right? People who live though in utter like true depravity, where like I knew this dude. I had this roommate one time that, and honestly, this roommate, his nickname was weird enough, so I'll just tell you guys his nickname. His name was Yoda. We all called him Yoda, and that's what he would introduce himself as sometimes, if he didn't introduce himself with his actual name. And he is fundamental to my conception of this theory, right? My idea that the worse the worse conditions somebody is able to occupy, the more likely it is that they are a highly distracted person, right? So Yoda had the most disgusting room I have ever fucking seen in my entire life. Literally. You have never seen a room as disgusting as Yoda's room. Never. I don't care if you're a landlord and you've had a really terrible tenant that has left a fucking house in utter disrepair. I bet you they didn't leave it as bad as Yoda lived in 24/7. Not 24/7. He would get out of the house and shit, but anytime he was home, he was either in the garage or in his room. And I didn't let him fucking trash up the garage. But I didn't want to be in his room. After it got to that point, I didn't want to be up in Yoda's shit. Even though he lived with us, me and my ex at the time. Well, I guess we were kind of dating at the time. And kind of not. It's complicated, but that's not the point of the story. The other person that paid rent in that house, me and her were on the lease. Yoda and his dumbass was not on the lease. So I could have been barging into his room and shit. And the few times I did, to retrieve fucking plates and shit that this dumb motherfucker left in his room, it was the most disgusting fucking hovel I've ever set foot in. And that kid was never without his phone. I say kid, he was actually older than me, but he lived like a fucking 12-year-old. So what do you say? You know? Like, what other description would be appropriate? And that, I think, has to be considered, right? Like, if Yoda was in his room, he was watching TV. If Yoda was in his room, he was either watching TV or on his phone or both. Or playing a video game and on his phone or both. Like, he was never fucking not distracted by both people. Like, he had like 5 distractions going at once. I'm telling you, dude, I've never seen someone be this depraved as a human being. In terms of just, like, living, like, completely out of the moment. Right? Completely out of their own space. Motherfucker would have, like, right now, you could say, I've got 2 distractions going, right? I've got this weed, and I've got you guys, right? And you could say that that's a distraction from wherever I'm at. But I think, 3, like 2 or 3, 4 maybe, that's fine. This motherfucker would have, like, 6 to 10 distractions going at any one time. Motherfucker would be high on fucking pills of some kind, high on fucking weed, and passing a blunt around actively, have like fucking 3 fucking people somehow tolerating this disgusting fucking shit heap of a room that he lived in. Let me see here. He would have a gaming console going, usually, and at the same time be watching something on his phone. And sometimes, like more often than not, if I would go in there, motherfucker would have food too. And this wasn't a fat guy either. Like, Yoda was fucking fit, if anything. So whatever, maybe he needed to eat that much. Maybe he just had a fucking... I'm not really fucking on him for the eating. The reason that inconvenienced me at all is because the motherfucker would fucking hide plates in his fucking room. He wouldn't hide them, I think, but he would just, like, stuff them in weird places to get them out of the way. And to this day, I've never seen someone live in such utter degradation. I've never seen someone occupy such a foul fucking place in my entire life. And I don't expect to either. I don't ever expect to. But I can only attribute the level of his like disregard of his own self and his surroundings. I can only perceive that as being enabled by the many and varied distractions that he engaged in 24/7. Dude was literally never without distraction. And I think that that's why it's important for people to genuinely... I think people should be raised to just disconnect for a while, man. Just, like, take a fucking break and look around. Because I swear to God, if people would do that more, their places would look way better. Their lives would make more sense. They would find way more beauty in the places that they live in, both inside and outside. What are you talking about? Gaming with Mar? I support the grind. Keep up the work. What's good, Pano? Yes, I'm trans. And when Bookblaze just says, slow your roll, they just mean make some of these comments into the same comment. So that way you're not spamming the chat, because otherwise it just looks like you're trying to send a bunch of messages in the chat and shit. It becomes hard to read, and I can't hope to follow it. It's way better if it's a whole paragraph, Yes, I'm glad we were part of the ones who experienced the world before globalized internet. Yeah, me too. I mean, genuinely. I'm going to be 27 this year, but I grew up in the Deep South, and internet was not super fucking common down here until the 2010s, really. Now, strangely enough, my area has been one of the first areas to get fiber reliably, so it's kind of weird. We went from, like most places in the country, went from having dial-up sometime in the 90s to having fiber sometime around now or the last 5 years. We went from having dial-up in like the early 2000s, but it was still pretty spotty, and pretty much only people that owned their own business really had it until like the 2010s, where it became broadband, and then we went right to fiber. So it is fucking crazy how fast technology has gone around here. I mean, it has been like head-splittingly fast in the Deep South, but because of that, I remember a world before everybody had a motherfucking cell phone. I remember a world before everybody's fucking life updates could be posted on the internet for everybody else to gawk at. And like that's why I'm so open about my shit, is because ultimately I know that nothing is private anymore. And it's a weird fucking thing about the internet, but it's also hard to use shit against you that you just talk about openly, you know? So I had a contract from the city to clean out geared to income housing, and I seen some pretty disgusting things. One lady paper trained her kids like a dog. What? Huey, is that true? Level with me, is that true? Because after seeing Yoda's room, I gotta tell you, Huey, I believe anything. I believe motherfucking anything. Because that motherfucker could live in a level of filth that would drive all of the rest of us insane. There's not a motherfucker in here, unless Yoda himself is watching, that could tolerate living like that. Are you on the hunt for work still, Phoebes? Why, Book Blaze, you got a lead? I mean, I guess I am, yes. I mean, until YouTube becomes something that I can do full time and have it be at least profitable enough to pay all of me and my partner's bills, which is it's kind of a high mark considering the fact that we have a son, right? I make money on YouTube right now, but I don't make enough to pay all of our bills. So yes, I guess I am, still on the job hunt, because my partner thought that they were going to get hired somewhere, and if that was the case, then I would just continue to work on my channel, and I would raise, I would just, I hate saying take care of our son, because it makes it sound like I'm babysitting him or something, but, I would be the one taking care of him, and they would be the one working, but that didn't end up working out, so yeah, I guess I'm back on the job hunt. I wouldn't dare to burden you with my cashier way of life. Just curious how that front is going. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of up in the air there for a minute, because, like I said, we thought for a while there my partner was going to be getting what was going to end up being a pretty lucrative job, but that didn't work out, and so I have officially put myself back on the job hunt. I saw her, it was terrible, and she would put paper over the used paper. Yeah, that's even worse than it has to be. It's one thing if she paper trained her kids, which would be disgusting and awful and not right. I'm not saying it'd be right, but it'd be one thing if you paper trained your kid and then like cleaned up after every single one. But that would be way too expensive. No, the only way you do it is by fucking maximalizing them. Man, that's so disgusting. This is why, shit like this is the type of thing that really does make me question whether or not Paul Zigo is possibly correct when it comes to the idea of parent testing and shit. Like, maybe there does need to be some kind of mechanism by which some people are just not allowed to have kids, which I guess already exists, right? Like, it already fucking exists. But it's kind of hard when you hear a fucking situation like that to not see it as being a better world if we could get ahead of that sort of thing. But it's like, who shouldn't be allowed, and how do you determine that, and like, does it adversely affect some groups more than others? And like, there's a lot of politics to the fucking idea of that make it pretty untenable as policy. So, can you have kids? Not that it's your business, but yes. Phoebe, what's the thing you dislike the most about Muslims? Man, just like hey, got any free-floating Islamophobia? It's like, okay, well, I'm not a big fan of how common. Okay, also, I'll put it this way. I don't like how violent fundamentalist Islam is. I don't think that makes me a neoconservative to say either. I don't like how violent or fucking fundamentalist Islam is, because fundamentalist Christianity is pretty fucked up. They are basically categorically the same when it comes to how they raise their kids to be adamantly that way, and they like reject people who don't follow their way of life. But the difference between a fundamentalist Christian and the difference and a fundamentalist Muslim is that you're probably not going to be you're probably never going to be seriously endangered by like I mean it's not 100% like Dylan Roof was a Christian fundamentalist, um, and Timothy McVeigh I think was also a Christian fundamentalist, like a Christian white nationalist. So it's not 100%, but I think if you look at the I don't know. It's just a feeling that I fucking get looking at like the nature of fundamentalist Islam and how it has affected like the Wahhabist movements and shit in the Middle East versus the fundamentalist Christian movement and the comparatively lesser amount of violence that can be attributed to it. Now, I don't think that either of them are right. I want to stress that neither of them are better than the other. This is not something that um, this is not something that I think absolves Christians of any moral wrongdoing. It's merely a benchmark, right? It's merely a benchmark, an object of comparison, if you will. Yeah, Phoebe's thoughts on the booming? The what? Wish they'd send you to Iran. Islam would have you roasted like a pig. Man, what a kind humanist person you are. I bet your rhetoric wins you I bet it wins you all kinds of support in political arguments. I bet you are constantly convincing people by virtue of your hateful, bigoted. Having a conversation with somebody, why would you come at them the way you just came at me? Hey, Nina, I'm going to turn on some monkey buttons. We are going to make this shit readable. Welcome to a readable chat that we can all participate in a way that makes us feel like we're actually doing something of merit. Because right now, I don't really feel like we're doing something of merit. I feel a whole lot like we are engaging in a shit-slinging, bullshitting, fucking comical lack of communication. And so we are fixing that by the application of some settings to chat. So now if you want to say anything, you'll have to wait a minute, and you can only say something every 10 seconds. Huzzah! May we now... Why the fuck is that so hard for me to say? Whatever. I'm autistic. No, I'm just kidding. That's not an excuse. Especially because I have fucking speech therapy under my belt. May we now be able to hear ourselves think. Yes, exactly. Book Blaze, you couldn't have put it better. I couldn't have put it better either. I'm drinking right now. Hey! It's a great time for it, isn't it? Isn't it always a great time for it? But especially right now, has there ever been a better time for it? The Eastern world, it is exploding, violence flaring and bullets loading. You're old enough to kill, just not for voting, but you don't believe in war. Well, what's that gun you're toting? And even the Jordan River has bodies floating, but you tell me over and over and over again, my friends, that you don't believe we're on the eve of destruction. Cheers to that. Your stutters are just speech enhancements. I don't know about all that, man. Book plays. If I ever get like, okay, if my YouTube popularity continues to go up, I gotta hire you as my PR person, because there is nobody I have chatted with in here that is better at putting a positive spin on my bullshit than Book Blaze. Man, fucking, I gotta send Book Blaze to PR school the minute I get rich, bro. I'm new to your channel and I'm looking forward to Saturday night. Have a great night. Hey, thanks, Huey. And yeah, you should definitely be looking forward to Saturday night, because there will be a debate between the enigmatic Paul Zigo of Deep Fat Fried fame and fucking Drunken Peasants fame and his own goddamn fame, even if he won't admit it. And yeah, he's going to be talking to his most, I don't know, critically acclaimed hater, if you can call the 200 to 300 people that show up to watch the hater vids critics. I'm just kidding. I'm being overly critical. I genuinely am going to be as unbiased as I possibly can be, and the way that that's going to be enforced is that literally all I'm going to be doing is preventing them from yelling over each other. And that is easy enough to do without trying to influence one side or the other. I may also do some live fact checking shit if they want me to. I'll talk to them both about it before we start, and I'll just say, hey, I've got multiple monitors. I've got a setup where if you want me to Google something real quick, I've got the resources pulled up. I don't know that they'll ask for that, though, but it will be an option that I will present to them. And this will be at 10 p.m. on my channel right here on this channel. But it'll be 10 p.m. PST Saturday night, this Saturday. Be there or be square. It's going to be super fun. But yeah, so Alchemist Soil versus Paul Zigo. You can go watch both of their videos after this stream and get a sense for what kind of argumentation that you're going to be dealing with. And yeah, they're both pretty... I've talked to both of them on the channel. Well, I don't know if I've talked to Paul actually on this channel, but I've talked to Paul on his channel. This will be probably his first time actually coming on my channel fully, because for whatever reason, I think there were audio issues the first time we streamed together. I don't remember. I genuinely don't. No, I couldn't restream the first time that we streamed together. And then the second time, I didn't even offer to restream. So he's never been on my channel, but he will Saturday night to debate Alchemist Soil, who has been on my channel. If you go back and watch a live from a few months ago, it's a desktop stream. And once again, you can get a sense for Alchemist Soil's arguments and some of the topics that might be brought up. It's going to be, I'll have to warn you, it's probably going to end up being electoralism focused, vote blue no matter who kind of traditional lib kind of shit, versus post-leftist, we need a third way, we need an independent kind of shit. And if that interests you, which it really does me, because I think that this is a critical time in democratic and leftist politics, right? Because if you think about it, the Trump administration owes its fucking existence largely to the failure of the Democratic Party to present a better option, right? To present a better option than Trump. And so I am really ready to see these two fucking these two ideas fight it out. The idea that we just need to keep voting for whoever the Democrats put up, even if it's not the great candidate we were hoping for, versus we need to abandon the Democrats and start something new. I am ready to see these two ideas have it out, and I imagine some of you are as well. So make sure you are there, 10 p.m. PST, this Saturday night. Name 5 women. Laverne Cox. Let's see. What's the fucking... Why can't I ever remember this bitch's name when I need her? Okay, Laverne Cox, Caitlyn Jenner, Kylie Jenner, Kim Kardashian, and Betty White. Would you like me to name another random 5 women? Name 5 men. Can I? Man, this just sounds like a boring exercise. Your chat has been rejected. What are your thoughts on World War III happening? I don't think they're going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen on quite the time scale I was imagining, because I was projecting some kind of armed conflict to be well underway by now, involving the United States. But it seems like it seems like cooler heads have prevailed for now. But you need to be aware that it is for now. I mean, Ukraine and Russia are still fighting it out, and Israel, Palestine, and Iran are not done fighting it out. This ceasefire will turn out to be temporary. I can almost guarantee you. I can almost guarantee you this fucking ceasefire will turn out to be temporary. Just wait and see. The old Shah's son, Reza Pahlavi, has been talked about for about 6 months now as a potential replacement for the leadership in Iran. Just let that sink in. What does that sound like? Because that sounds and smells to me like regime change. Like, you know how when you're cooking up some garlic, right? You're looking for that popping sound and you're looking for that fresh roasted garlic smell, right? It's beginning to smell like the beginnings to a really delicious Alfredo in here. Don't play Russian roulette with semi-auto pistols. What is that supposed to mean? I mean, that's just good life advice, but what does that mean? Have you got more or less action since deciding to be mentally ill? See, even if transgenderism was mental illness, which it isn't, by the way, but even if it was, I love how you think that particular mental illnesses deserve derision. That people who suffer from mental illness deserve to be hated on and fucked with and treated badly. Now, I don't look at, like I think it's like patently obvious that the mental illness at play, if any, is gender dysphoria, that the treatment for that is, in fact, being trans. And that's not just my take, that's the take of the Mayo Clinic. So as far as I'm concerned, you can argue with God. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. Be gone, Nazi scumbag. Be gone, Nazi fucking scumbag. Come back in here with some Jew hating shit. Fuck you, bitch. Genuine question. I don't agree with LGBT ideology and personally much against much of it. I don't know why I'm reading your comment with a British accent. I respect you and your wishes, but do you think I, as a random person, should have to be forced to call you she? Do I think you should have to be forced? No. Do I think you're a cunt if you don't? Yes. I mean, do you think I should be forced to not think you're a cunt for like refusing to call me she? For insisting upon calling me he, despite the fact that, like, I got a big old pair of titties and, like, bangs and a female countenance and, like, spend my days dressed in feminine clothes. But you should still be able to, you know, call me whatever you want. I should just be able to think you're a douchebag in response to that. That's the social contract, my friend. I will stand up for your right to call me he. But I'm still going to think you're a cunt. Have you heard about our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ? I probably know more about Jesus than you do, actually, yeah. Can we have more rights in New Zealand? New Zealand is worst. Is it really? I really don't know that much about New Zealand, my friend. I'm an American, and I don't know if you know this about us, but we aren't really taught about other countries. The conversion of a request to be polite towards pronouns to you want to force me is always hilarious. I know. It's the conversion of a plea into a demand, when really Like, the demand is being made by I will admit, there's a very small group of trans people that do go out there with this, like, rhetoric about hate speech and shit, and that it should be extended to misgendering and shit. And I think that's ridiculous. I think that that's a way too fucking risky a standard. I would never want to inconvenience people in that way. I just think it's such a divisive fucking piece of rhetoric. But I also reserve the right to think someone's a cunt for refusing to fucking acknowledge the gender that I clearly am by virtue of my expression, my countenance, everything else I've described in the many and varied conversations we've had about the matter on this channel and that I've had in my life with, like, everybody I know that cares to talk about the issue, you know? Phoebe, do you feel like people have a tendency to either sexualize you and associate you with fantasy, or go the opposite? Sorry, having a bit of what we call technical difficulties. My phone died, in other words. But I'm back now. You just alternated from 2 vapes and a cigarette in less than a minute. Bro, you must be 12. You've literally never seen a joint in your entire life, so you think that every fucking little tube with a little bit of fire at the end is a cigarette, and that is laughable. But it's very indicative of your level of experience with the adult world, so maybe you ought to think about saying things like that in the future. It's not really the best it's not really the best idea if you're trying to give off the impression that you're a serious person whose opinion bears weight that's worth considering. I got timed out. I apologize for cussing earlier, but holy Moses, these comments. Aw, Big Gabe. Poor Big Gabe. Big Gabe is a cool dude. Don't time out Big Gabe. Big Gabe ain't fucking doing nothing. Bro, I will tell you this much. We have way looser restrictions here than in Paul's chat, but the reason why the timeout is used so much here is because of that policy, right? We always give people, and I don't know if that's something, because I don't think it's something I ever openly discussed, right? I've talked about how we do let some of the trolls stay here, right? We do let them have their chance, and I have advocated timeouts before, but I guess it feels to me like kind of an unspoken rule that me and all the other mods follow, that we really only hide somebody for a few specific infractions, namely specific kinds of hatred that I just don't tolerate here. One of them is like people that are like hardcore like anti-Semites and shit. To me, that is just like synonymous with Nazi shit. You tell me you're a Jew hater, you've basically told me you're a fucking Nazi, and I'm sorry, I'm not the one who needs to break bread with you. There is a leftist out there who can convert you. It's not my queer ass, okay? I think I stand a pretty good chance of talking to most people on the right. But when you've gone that far towards like white robes and goose stepping and shit, I kind of don't want your dumb ass around, you know? But outside of that, we pretty much let trolls and people that want to be disagreeable and shit stay around. But sometimes they just get a little bit much. Sometimes somebody goes on for too long on one specific topic and doesn't want to drop it. And sometimes you just need to get rid of a motherfucker, but you don't want to get rid of them forever. So you hit them with the 24-hour timeout. You give them the chance to come back in a couple of streams. And slowly they learn. I have a few regulars that pop in and out that were originally trolls that got banned constantly, you know? Always entertain the trolls, especially polite to the trolls. I mean, I don't know about that. I'm not super polite to the trolls, but I'm always entertaining them. I'm always using them as entertainment fodder. I mean, there is nobody whose content is more reliable and usable than that of a troll, right? People who are desperate for attention are always happy to get that attention, and they are happy to provide plenty of fucking material for you to riff on in order to give them that attention. I mean, they basically just set themselves up as a perfect target. It's like they've got one of those wheels that you see knights practicing with, or not knights, but archers practicing with in medieval film. You know, you'll see them, and they've got like a dummy strapped to it, and they're like rotating. Or maybe it's They would do that as a form of torture too, right? It's like they went up to one of those machines, strapped themselves up to it, right? And someone has turned it on, and I just get to sit there with a bow all night long and, you know, do flesh wounds on them. It's nice. Verbal flesh wounds. It's cool. It's fun. Don't be polite to trolls. Entertain the polite trolls. Yeah, there you go. Don't be polite to trolls. Entertain the polite trolls. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it too. But the best way to look at it, in my opinion, is just, you know what? Some people want attention. Give it to them every so often. Let them know what it actually feels like, because it's not always the best feeling. Is that a goblin? Yes, you found me. The last of my tribe. How novel. I know. The first meetings are always the most awkward, but I'm sure you'll get used to looking at my grotesque frame soon enough. Ah! Do you not want attention? Well, of course I do. Who said I didn't? I'm just as much a troll as these people. Why do you think I entertain them? Why do you think, like, just be, like, that doesn't mean that every aspect of my presentation is trolling, but, like, obviously there's an element of give and take here. It's obviously reliant on some sort of weird parasocial codependent relationship between streamer and chat, especially in a format like this, where you're actually engaging with people one-on-one, not one-on-one, but one on 131. And, you know, the trolls give you a little bit of attention, you give them a little bit of attention, but the fucking difference is, right? And it's kind of sad once you realize this, right? All of this attention is still not quite enough, you know? I could still do with quite a bit more. But the attention that I give some of these trolls makes their whole fucking day. Literally makes their whole fucking day. Because I took their argument seriously, or because I had it out with them, or had some sort of verbal sparring match with them, you know? And honestly, I can be conceited about that and be like, haha, look at how powerful I am or whatever, but that's not really the angle I see it from. I more see it as like, how cool is it that I am able to make people that happy? Fuck it, even if they're not happy, how cool is it that I'm able to make people feel that passionately, regardless of how they feel? It is a wonderful thing to feel. It is a wonderful thing to feel. Trans rights based. Yeah, that was supposed to be a high five, by the way. You know, despite people's beliefs, I'll genuinely never understand the hate that the LGBTQ community gets. Sure, I enjoy a good joke, but being funny and being an ass are two different things. Well, yeah, I mean, I like a good fucking queer joke, like if it's made tastefully and shit. And there are ways to make gay jokes that are pretty tasteful and that don't involve violence towards us, or like the idea of us as disgusting creatures and shit, you know? There are plenty of gay jokes that aren't anti-gay, literally. And the idea of that fucking shakes some people to the core, but it is 100% true. You have been ignoring me this whole time? Dude, Shekel thinks they are the fucking main character of the whole universe. I'm sorry. I hate to do it to you, but the standard rule in here is that I read whatever chat my dumbass eyes land on, Shekel. And I haven't seen any of your chats yet. Literally, how ironic is it that the first chat of yours that I read is not you repeating the thing that you're trying to say, but rather you complaining about the fact that I'm not reading your chat in a chat of 151 people. 152. 152 people watching, and you're shocked that I'm not listening to you specifically. I'm sorry, but you're not a mod. You're not someone that I like remember from the community well enough to know your name. So yeah. Like, honestly, the only, like, chance you've got of getting a guaranteed response from me is, like, sending a super chat. Because I get notified about those. They show up down here, and they're all colorful and shit, and they catch my eye. But random questions, I don't look at the chat while I'm in the middle of a point. And so if you send your chat while I'm in the middle of a point, you stand a way less chance. Like, you stand a way lower chance of me actually reading that message and being able to respond to it. It's just the nature of this format. It's not because I'm ignoring you in particular. And I'm not trying to be rude either. That's the thing. I'm just telling you, like, that's, I know I sound like super angry probably, but that's not how I mean to come off. It's just like the nature of this fucking format is that people are kind of incentivized to send super chats or sign up for the membership, because those are ways to get noticed more easily in the community. If you feel like you've got a lot to say and you want to make sure I can read your chats. But outside of that, you pretty much just have to leave it to chance. And there are a few things that you can keep in mind that if you keep them in mind, you stand a pretty good chance of like becoming someone who's known in the community because your chats get read. One of them is waiting until I'm actually looking at the chat to send a message, because sometimes I will read the chat for 2.5 minutes just fucking staring oblong looking for something that's worth fucking talking about. And if you send a message while I'm actually looking at the chat, you stand a pretty good fucking chance of me reading your fucking chat, you know? No super chat required, no membership required. Had to subscribe for a minute? Well, yeah. I'm a gay joke and I'm anti-gay. Nice. I think, maybe, I don't fucking know. You know what? You live your truth. Do you believe in God? I believe in something more powerful than myself, but I don't know if it could be fairly termed God, you know? I think nature can be viewed as a sort of God. I think that happenstance can be viewed as a sort of God. Well spoken, nice bangs and valid points. Aw, thank you, Chieftain. I appreciate you. You're so sweet. Thank you for the $1.99. That's really cool of you. Oh, okay, but anyway, I'm subbed, like not trying to be a main character, just saying. I'm sorry, Shekel. You have to understand, part of the entertainment value of this show is me responding to people and being antagonistic towards them. It's not you personally. Don't worry. I've literally, that was the first chat I saw of yours. So my demeaning attitude, you know, listen, this show is only insofar as it is a show, is only interesting because of the interjection between me and the chat, right? Which is only interesting because when people say something that tips me the wrong way or whatever, I allow myself to go to that place. Because normally in real life, I don't. In real life, I'm a very calm and measured person, you know? And it would be a super fucking boring stream if I responded the way I respond in real life to the way I respond to things in here. I respond to the way to things. I respond to things in here the way I would respond to things maybe in real life with like close friends or somebody that I'm smoking with or something like that. And I allow myself to go to that vitriolic place more than I would even with that group, right? But that's the nature, once again, of the content, right? It is made interesting by my responses to you guys. Why are you still alive? What do you fucking mean? Because I continue to draw breath? Question mark? Do you recommend smoking / vaping? No. You should not smoke or vape. It's a bad habit. Don't do it. What is this channel about? It's like, honestly, about whatever I feel like making it at the moment, but mostly it's about like political and social commentary combined with a little bit of music from here and there. And I've also thought about doing cooking content, which is why I say it's basically about whatever the fuck I want, which is, I guess, kind of vague. But these streams in particular might be a better thing to ask about, because this is my primary form of content that I've been doing for the last 6 months. And these are all about whatever the chat wants to make them about. So I put a few topic suggestions in the head, or what's it called? The title. I put a few topic suggestions in the title usually, especially lately. And that's sometimes a guideline, but I answer pretty much any question that's posed to me as long as it doesn't violate the TOS, or as long as it's not, like I said, there are specific forms of hate that I just don't tolerate in here, and whatever. Like, there's plenty of places for those folks to go. Like, why does my channel have to be their refuge? You know, it doesn't. I wouldn't let them be in my circle. I'm not going to let them be in here. But if you're anything outside of that, if you're just a regular old leftist, if you're just a regular old right-winger, if you're just a regular old centrist, if you're just a regular apolitical person that doesn't give a shit, you are welcome here. Let's have interesting conversations. I don't care how argumentative and contentious it gets. This is not a hug box for either me or you. And the only rules here are to be readable, original, and interesting. And it'll be a Nazi. But got a question? Hit with it. Ever heard of a dentist? Yeah, until I lost Medicaid coverage when I was 21 and haven't been to one since. Because I haven't had sufficient employment provided insurance. Hasn't been offered at a lot of the jobs I've worked. How about you worry about your own teeth, motherfucker? Do you feel that either person was the better choice in the election? No. I think we were served two terrible choices in this last election, and I think that it is incumbent on people who agree with me to break away from the two parties and start a third party. Start a fucking third way. The only reason a third party is not viable in America is because there are certain people in America who say that it is so, and they convince all the rest of us to vote on that basis. But if fucking 50% of the Republican Party and 50% of the Democratic Party broke off, that would constitute a whole third of the country, almost. That would be a massive, massive fucking... In fact, that would constitute a third of the country. That would be we wouldn't even need to get that many, is what I'm saying. We would need to get like maybe 30% of each. Even if we could get 30% of each, people who voted Democrat in the 2024 elections and people who voted Republican in the 2024 elections, and then we could get 33% of the 35% of the general electorate that did not vote last year, we would have a massive majority in this country. We would sweep to victory in a landslide. It is up to us to stop making this bullshit, stupid-ass argument that third parties don't work in America. Because that argument is what has given us Trump, regardless of how you feel about him. And it's what gave us Biden, regardless of how you feel about him. Regardless of how you feel about those two presidents, they are the result of the American people being told time and time again that their fucking actual choice doesn't matter. The Democratic Party actively rigs its own primaries. The Republican Party allows itself to be led by the money. And we see in this disenfranchisement of the voters at the hands of both parties, we see freedoms being whittled away. We see less and less support of social services that are critical to keep this fucking country going. We see the fucking roads getting worse. We see people getting worse and worse student debt, less and less jobs, higher and higher taxes on the working class, but no fucking taxes for corporations or the corporates that own them. So what's the fucking, what's the deal? When are we going to admit that the way we've been doing shit don't work? I'm a fan of Trump. Even if I hated him, he was still the best choice we had. I mean, Adam, let me ask you this. What do you like about Trump so much? Let me just ask you that. What's your, name your top 3 policies, your top 3 Trump policies. Granted, I don't know much about the American voting system, but doesn't the whole Electoral college thing kind of make third parties a lot harder than just... No, it really doesn't. I mean, in theory, it makes it difficult, but it's only difficult if you want to fucking play the same fucking bullshit game that the two parties are playing, right? In my opinion, it's only unfeasible if you're just attempting to replace the Democratic Party. That's not what I'm calling for. What I'm calling for is a fucking radical workers' party that fucking looks out for people's economic best interests first and foremost, and then, at some point later, then we can fucking hash out the, at some point later, we can hash out the social issues. Even if they froze where they are right now, individual state activism is going to continue, in favor of, pro-choice policy in anti-abortion states. That sort of activism is going to continue, Why you sound masculine? Because I don't voice train. Pretty simple question, pretty simple answer, I guess. But yeah, that's why. I don't voice train. But, I don't sound that masculine to me, and a lot of other people do not seem to share that opinion, but you're totally entitled to it. Couldn't bother me none. I've had a question for 10 or 15 minutes. Can I please ask it now? Well, why are you asking permission? Just ask the question. God, I hate that. Why do people feel like they have to ask permission to ask a question? You see people asking questions without me giving them permission. Why do you care? Why do you ask? I don't get it. Why you want me to accept you if you cannot accept you? I do accept me. This is me, and I accept me just fine. And I don't expect you to accept me. In fact, I expect you to not, which is why I continue to advocate for queer acceptance, because I don't think we've gotten there yet. No, everyone shares that opinion. Anyone who tells you otherwise is deaf or is lying. Yeah, I know. You know better than everyone else around you. You know better than everyone else in my life too, right? Because you're God, right? Because you're the smartest person in the room. Has there ever been a single human being that has ever fucking challenged you in any real way? Or have they just patted you on your little head and sent you along your way, allowing you to feel like you had the moral and wiser high ground in the interaction? I get the impression that that's how you've been dealt with in every fucking confrontation of this nature that you've probably ever been in. Well, no, I don't stop talking because that's the nature of a live stream. I don't know if you've ever made like live content on the internet before, but that's called dead air. So instead of asking the question, just like instead of asking if you can ask the question surreptitiously a million times, just ask the motherfucking question already. Because I'm really getting sick to death of reading your complaints about how you can't ask the question, but you don't ask the question. Are you not? Fucking no, I'm not high on meth. I'm way too fat to be a meth head. Motherfucker is 12 and has never met a meth head. Feel free to improve the Democratic Party, but I think potentially ignoring it and ignore voting is at their own peril. Are you planning to reform the party or move on to something else? I think we need to plan to move on to something else. I think the idea that the Democratic Party can be reformed from within is silly. I think we've been trying that, like varying cadres of leftists and progressives have been trying to reform the party from within for a really long time, hasn't seemed to have much effect. I think at this point, the Democratic Party is an outdated institution that needs to be replaced. It is as bourgeoisie as the Republican Party. It is bought by the same fucking corporate interests. Its policies reflect their interests in the same exact ways. The Democratic Party are Republicans that are nicer to gay people on Twitter and wear blue ties. I like many things he has done, but I think an easier answer to the question is I like him because he is smart, decisive, and driven. I don't like everything about the man, but he has more of the what? I'm going to be honest, I don't have much interest or optimism about fixing anything. Well, Pig Money, I hope you can, I hope someday that you can, I hope someday that you can get over that pessimism, because it would be really useful if you could. It would be really nice if you could. Because we need people that believe in some kind of solution. We don't need you to hope, but we do need your action and everyone else's. You know? $100 if you can do one jumping jack, man. Swear to God, I'll do 10 jumping jacks. And you won't send the $100 because you're just a shit-talking little bitch. But I'll do it just to prove that you won't talk the $100. That you won't send the $100 because you're a shit-talking little bitch. Okay? Are we ready? I'm going to have to, move some shit out of the way here. But we can do it. Okay. Are we ready? And this is going to be so loud, but at least I'm in an outbuilding. I think that was actually 12, but I managed to terrify my cat, and he spilled his food, which sucks. But upon looking over here, it was apparently infested with ants anyway, so I guess it doesn't matter. And yes, I clean it out every day, but they just kind of move around in here to wherever I put it, so I have to move it every couple of days as their trail moves. Which sucks, but it is what it is. Now, watch as the shit-talking bitch does not send $100. Why have I been watching this for like an hour? It's 2 a.m. The sign of a consummate entertainer, my friend. Yeah, send the 100. Come on, pay up. I did yo shit. In fact, I did 10 times yo shit. And I ain't even winded. I'm smoking right after. So what was that shit you was talking again? You want to send that $100 my way? You can even hit my Cash App if it's easier for you. Dale or Jeff? Dale. Raise hail. Praise Dale. Duh. See, Adam, I knew we'd find something in common, buddy. See, there we go. You see how easy that was? Always Dale, of course. You about to have a heart attack? Motherfucker, you are nothing but shit talk. Nothing shit talk. Shrimp, you want to get rid of Modded? You want to send Modded on to his, send his to whatever god he wishes, Thank you. Ha, finally. Oh, man. Deprived as we are of Modded's dumb trolling ass. Get scammed, big boy. What, huh? Yeah, no. You didn't scam me. You're just a fucking shit-talking little bitch. You like to get online and talk a bunch of shit, but you ain't got the money to be making claims like that. You're a broke little bitch that talks shit online and assumes people can't do shit on the basis of them having a little flab on their arms. So get fucked, dumb cunt. Seriously, how do you take all the hate slung your way? I wipe my eyes with all the thousands of views that I get. No, I don't know. It's just like, once you realize that you can monetize the people, like the people that are super hateful towards you, once you realize that you can monetize people's willingness to be hateful towards you and shit, it becomes very easy to let that shit slip off your back like water off a duck. Plus, you begin to realize, with all the spelling errors and the grammar errors associated with the hateful shit that these people say, you begin to realize that none of them, like, among them all, their collective intelligence would rival that of a banana, So it's like, how can I take people seriously that are coming at the position from such a fucking fundamentally unenlightened position? It's like, do I get offended when the chimpanzee throws shit at me through the glass of the window at the zoo? No, because it's a chimpanzee. It doesn't know any better. Bananas are actually very smart. Did you know that bananas are a fucking herb? I didn't know that, but apparently bananas are not, in fact, a tree. They are a giant fucking herb. I didn't know that shit, but when I learned it, I was fucking impressed. I am amused by the chimp throwing shit. Envious, even. I know, right? I am, too. They are a flower, not an herb. No, there's something else. What is the truth of the banana? Because I was reading that they're an herb, but then somebody was saying that under a certain definition they're a tree, and somebody else was saying no, it's an herb, and now you're saying no, it's a flower. So what the fuck is it? No, you're wrong, because you know what? Everything has flowers. Everything has flowers, not everything, but like most fucking vascular plants have flowers, right? Right? Someone back me up in the chat. Do I happen to have a biologist on hand? Please, anybody? Do I happen to have a biologist on hand? Back me up. Most vascular plants have flowers, right? Plant that does not have woody stem. Yeah, that makes it an herb, right? That makes it a giant herb. It's basically a giant basil plant at that point, right? Happy Men's Mental Health Month. Happy Pride Month. It can be both. Look at that. What's your favorite band? That is a really hard question. I have probably had 1,000 people ask me that question, and I've probably given 1,000 different answers, honestly. Damn it. I wanted to mirror it and get a cool effect, but I couldn't. It is what it is. Okay, this is stupid. Then scroll the fuck on up, bitch. Ain't nobody got you chained to this content. It's literally so easy to go find something else to watch. The rest of us can have an intelligent, informed conversation that goes somewhere eventually. There are specific chemical compounds that make up the wood in a plant considered a tree. Banana no have. That's fucking official. That comes from Pig Mercy, and I take Pig Mercy. I take their fucking word as law. So you know what? It is established. You know what, Pig Mercy? I'm autistic. Probably I will never stop wanting to share banana plant facts. Pig Mercy. One question. Are you a little baby? Are you like fucking close to an adult? Because if so, I might add you to the mod team. But if you're still a little baby, I cannot add you to the mod team. Because I can't trust some 13-year-old with mod powers in here. But you're in here so often, and I don't want you to get banned. You're 27, mod, then you are a fucking mod now. Because you are in here all the time. You are clearly going to be a mainstay of the channel, and you are now a standard moderator. This does not make this. Here's our policy. We don't get rid of all the trolls. I mean, you've heard me give this speech to other mods, I'm sure. You've heard me give this speech, I'm sure. We don't ban all the trolls. And the timeout is preferred over the ban, outside of a few exceptions. If somebody's being just completely fucking stupid, if you read a comment and you think, and your brain resets and you think, that's the stupidest shit I've ever read, hide that shit. You ain't got to time them out. If it's completely unoriginal, if it's just fat, or somebody calling me a faggot, or something like that, hide that shit. And if it's completely unoriginal, like completely uninteresting, I mean, which I guess really falls back on the originality thing, you can hide that shit. But otherwise, if somebody's just being belligerent and refusing to fucking get off a topic that we're not talking about, we use 24-hour timeout here more than anything, because we fucking encourage a little bit of participation at the hands of the trolls. We always like to see a little bit of participation at the hands of the trolls. So really, this is not a big obligation on you, but it is something you can help me out with now if you have the inclination. So if you want to be involved in the process of making the chat a readable place and making these streams more interesting, now you have the power to. Okay, I feel crushing pressure, but I'm going to play it cool. It's not crushing pressure. It's the opposite. I'm just saying, like, I just don't want you to feel like the ban policy is ambiguous, because you're going to see a lot more chats than you used to see now that you're a mod. And if it's something you're not comfortable with, just let me know and I'll take it away. But if it's something you're comfortable with, don't feel like it's some crushing amount of pressure. It's not an obligation. If you don't have the time or the inclination, don't worry about it. But it will also protect you from getting banned in a big ban spree if some like just a bunch of spam is happening or something like that, right? So there are multiple kind of benefits outside of just being able to help police the chat. And ultimately, I don't expect you to police the chat if you don't have the energy for it. There we go. Having given that speech, what's going on, everybody? What's your favorite music genre then? That's a way easier one. Folk punk. Give me a little bit of folk punk. Let's scream about how we all want to get drunk and ride railroads. Let's scream about how our fucking exes left us and now we can't find a Coke plug anymore, so we're all fucked up on fucking cheap booze, because it's like the next best thing that we can use to get our mind off the horrible things going on in our lives. You know, like, give me some of that shit more than anything. But I like all kinds of music. That's the wild thing about me, right? So I like a little bit of industrial music. Big fan of Rammstein, you know. I like a little bit of 80s pop. Big fan of Cyndi Lauper. Big fan of Dire Straits, which I think was 80s. I think. Tanya Tucker, who I guess was 70s, just as much as she was 80s. Probably more 70s, in fact. But I don't know that much about the timing of her career. Point is, I like a bunch of different fucking kinds of music, but folk punk is probably the epicenter of my interest, you know? And followed pretty shortly by, like, indie alternative music as a whole, which is kind of a really broad term. It's a really broad genre qualification that covers a whole bunch of different groupings of music. Listen to Jesse Stewart, Canadian folk singer, dead now, overdose. He is easy to find on YouTube. Ooh, Adam Fink. I was a dirty kid back when Jesse was still alive. I know some dirt about Jesse. But it is apparently not public knowledge, so I have made the decision that I'm not going to be fucking constantly talking about it and shit. So, whatever. But, yeah, no, I already know about Jesse Stewart. He wrote, he did this song called Cold Beer, another song called Maverick, I think. Or was it Maverick? No, it was some M word, but I don't think it was Maverick. It was something like that. Or maybe it was. I don't fucking remember. But I remember like 3 or 4 of his songs. And yeah, talented musician. Possibly quite fucked up guy from what I remember and know, but, you know, details, I guess, are not mine to share. Marauder, there we go, yeah. Spill the tea. It's fucking, I would feel like a muckraker for spilling this tea, bro. As far as I know, it's not tea that led to a conviction. No, Pig Mercy. Baja has been asking that for a while, and they sent me. I will respond to Baja. Baja, I got your DM. I haven't gone through with all, like, you gotta understand, it takes me a while to do shit like that, you know? I have your DM. I have your producer added, I think, and we will be in touch. Predator, yeah, it's okay. Well, fuck. If you already know about them, then I guess it's whatever. Yeah, there's some allegations that he may have been a little rapey, basically. Like the exact details, I don't fucking remember, but it was a bit of scuttlebutt that was passed around a bunch back in the back in the days, like basically immediately before he died. I don't know. This is from what I understand and remember, okay? He went through like a string of kind of like bad behavior in the lead up to his overdose, which I understand is, you know, probably not exclusively his fault. I understand that there are complex socioeconomic reasons why people end up in the situation where they're fucking up people in their lives and shit and fucking over people in their lives. But from my understanding, he had been in like a spat of bad behavior that had gotten him kind of in the public eye of a bunch of prominent dirty kids. When I say prominent, I mean people who are known by a small online community of like 10,000 people, you know? And, but, you know, there are people that are prominent enough in other spaces to be able to kind of, I don't know, spread the message far and wide. But then everybody forgot about it, right? So half the people I will talk to about Jesse Stewart don't even know about that shit. And it's up to them. Like, if I'm in private with somebody, it's up to them whether I tell them. If they would rather not know the dirt about some musician they really like, that's, you know, that's their choice. But if it's somebody that really wants to know and I'm in private, I'm pretty willing to diverge what I know about it. But otherwise, it just feels a little bit weird, you know? Because like I said, it didn't end in a conviction or anything like that. And, at least as far as I remember, it didn't end in a conviction, so. It's mental illness. That's why I like his music. Well, yeah, that's another thing you have to consider, right? Is that tortured artists create great music, and tortured people torture others, right? Hurt people, hurt people. That's a well-known adage in the psychological kind of like therapy community, and there's a reason for it. Bro is smoking 3 different things, just 2 different things. My daddy gave me an ouchie, and now I'm going to give you an ouchie. It is sad that it really comes down to that, isn't it, Adam? Isn't it sad that it ultimately ends up coming down to that in so many cases? And maybe it's not their dad. Maybe it's not either of their parents. I mean, relationships and friendships can hurt people in profound ways that lead them to be distrustful or manipulative to other people in the future. I almost missed the stream, LMAO. Glad I got here in time. Well, what's up, Steve? Therapy ain't free? No, but it should be. It should be provided as a part of a robust universal healthcare system, which America has needed, by the way, for like 30 fucking years now. But we just don't ever implement it. The Democrats talk about it every election cycle, but it just never happens. They love to bullshit us about it, but they do not love to introduce it as policy and fight for it as policy. Just another reason why we need to abandon the Democratic Party. Like the fucking... I don't know. It's like we're trying to ride to battle on a diseased horse. That's what it feels like to me. Dad can be substituted for any person. I wouldn't say any person, but any person of sufficient closeness. Because a random stranger, I don't think, can hurt most people in a way that fundamentally changes them for the rest of their lives. At least not unless you're talking about something that's really awful. I mean, with significant enough trauma, I guess a random stranger can traumatize anybody of any age, you know, and leave them open to that sort of thing. But it's not nearly as common as people who are just close to you, you know? It's usually not the random stranger, boogeyman, you know, crazy person on the street or whatever that does you harm. It's usually your circle. It's your family or your friends, usually. Just the fucked up thing about it. It's about to get gutted, wealth care for the win. Oh yeah, dude. And Citizen United and break up the conglomerates, BlackRock and Vanguard. I mean, I don't know about that. I would love to see the Democratic Party get gutted, but I really don't think that that's going to happen unless some kind of third party movement rises up and demands a change to the way things are, with political candidates that are serious about what they're offering and that are going to stay the course. Tim Tun, I'm going to give you no more attention than you deserve, which is to say your name. That felt nice. Support your decision to identify as you want to be identified as. However, sometimes I'll make a mistake as misgendering, but it must also be tolerated that no one is perfect and mistake will be made. Well, yeah, I've always made that argument. That's what I was saying earlier. People were asking me if I think people should be forced to gender someone correctly, and I was saying no. I also don't think that I should be forced to think someone is okay for misgendering me, but I can think you're a douchebag and also think that you should be allowed to misgender me, willingly even, you know? Like, that's the thing. And I don't think someone that just fucks up is a douchebag. I think that somebody that just fucks up is just fucking up. Like, whatever. People are socialized differently, and I applaud someone that's even trying, you know? Like, somebody that's just trying is at least the fuck they're trying, you know? It's like, it could be way worse. Could be way worse. So I am very tolerant of people who occasionally fuck up, because I understand that they're trying their best, you know? Don't listen to him, you're amazing. I appreciate you guys, but I really do not let those types of people get to me anyway. Socialized healthcare kind of sucks. It has horrible waiting periods and raises taxes to high hell. That's the arguments that are made against it, but when you really look at the different universal healthcare systems of these different countries, it's not really true. France, for example, pays marginally higher taxes than we do, like on average, but their corporations pay higher taxes, and as a result, France has a universal fucking healthcare system that's well funded and that doesn't feature massive waiting periods. And that's pretty much a feature of a lot of these universal healthcare systems. And honestly, where you get waiting periods in a lot of these systems is for cosmetic issues. So yeah, if you want a boob job, well, I'm sorry. There's not always a plastic surgeon available. You might have to wait a while. But if you have a fucking, like, if you need like an emergency, like if you need an emergency tracheotomy, you're not going to be like left to die on the hospital steps. Like, that idea is ridiculous. They still have emergency rooms in universal healthcare countries. In fact, their fucking emergency rooms work way better because people aren't using them as like a stand-in for primary care doctors. Have you ever noticed how every time you go into the ER now, it's fucking crammed full of people unless it's like 2 a.m.? That's because a lot of people have fucking gotten to the point where, because they don't have sufficient insurance, they're literally using the ER as a replacement of their primary care doctor. When things get bad enough in their health that they feel like they finally need to be seen by a doctor, that's when they hobble their way in to a fucking when they hobble their way into an emergency clinic, an emergency room, where they have to be seen. And so it clogs up the system massively. If we had universal healthcare, people wouldn't be doing that shit. People would gradually get used to the idea that they can go to a doctor regularly, that they can go to a doctor for proactive care. A universal healthcare system would be so much better prepared at keeping people healthy. And no, I'm not saying that the reason I'm fat is because of a lack of a universal healthcare system in America. The reason I'm fat is because I like really fucking high carb homemade foods, and I eat way too much of them. Just the truth. I applaud you. You're literally a breath of fresh air with your thinking. I don't know about all that, but I appreciate the compliment for sure. I try to be, if nothing else, at least a little bit new, you know? I try to approach things with my own perspective, which I hope is new enough, considering there's only one of me, you know? Those two conglomerates own 80% of companies on Wall Street. Love the vibes. Yeah, tying healthcare to your job as a means to control workers and make strikes harder, staying in a shitty job. Oh, 100%, Pablo. 100%. And yes, those two conglomerates own 80% of fucking everything. It's fucking insane the amount of control and sway that they hold. And so yeah, breaking up, like getting money out of politics and breaking up, like trust busting needs to come back as a policy front. Trust busting needs to come back as a policy front, because you know what? The wealth gap is worse now than it was during the Gilded Age. So the conditions that created the trust busting of the 1910s and the 19-teens and the later 1930s and 40s, that trust busting needs to happen again. I think you eat a little more than just food. Why do I get the feeling that that's a blood libel? But you can't go down the Twin Falls? Huh? What the fuck are the Twin Falls? The healthcare system is broken, but the Euro models wouldn't work for the US because we have way more population and we pay for the defense for most of the world. Well, didn't you hear? NATO countries have agreed to increase military spending to 5% of their GDP. America already has fucking, like, America exceeds that goal by quite a bit. But yeah, NATO countries outside the US have agreed to increase their military spending by 5%. Okay, so can we have universal health care now? Now that that's not an argument anymore? I was also confused about the Twin Falls, yeah. How many push-ups can you do? Infinite amounts, bro. I could do push-ups from sun up to sundown. A 7-story water slide? I wouldn't want to go down the Twin Falls, bro. You couldn't fucking pay me enough to go down the Twin Falls. Okay, yes, you could. You could totally pay me enough to go down the Twin Falls, but you would have to have it in writing. You would have to have it in a fucking suitcase. I'm talking like Marcellus Wallace style. You would have to open that shit up on the fucking trunk of the car that we had come to wherever the fuck that's at, and you would have to show me that shit, and I would have to sign the contract, and you sign the contract in front of a notary public. And if that happens, I would go down that awful, awful slide. That sounds horrifying, but I would do it for enough money. I think a state model will work much better than a federal one. Let me tell you why a state model doesn't work. Because if Mississippi can have a worse system than fucking Missouri, then if Mississippi can have a worse system than Missouri, then people down here just get fucked over, while people up in different places get to have a way fucking higher, like, I don't know. I feel like at that point you have just exported the problem to specific states, because there are some states that frankly probably don't produce enough to create enough tax revenue to fulfill all the healthcare needs of their state. For example, the state I live in, Mississippi, we produce quite a bit, but we also have quite a bit of healthcare need in this state. Like, the city of Jackson been under boil water orders off and on for years now. All kinds of communities in this state have like crazy fucking class divisions, where there are some people living on like $600 a month, and the only reason they're able to stay living at all is because they inherited the land they live on or some shit, but they live in dilapidated housing that barely fucking serves to keep the rain and snow off their heads. Level of poverty that's allowed to exist down here creates massive healthcare need. And I don't know if this fucking state produces enough for a mere hike in corporate taxes and up taxes would actually be enough to serve all of the healthcare needs of the state. I'm sure it could do most of it, but I am 100% sure that we would probably need a little bit of federal help to really get things going. So I don't know. Maybe the answer is a federally funded state, state-controlled, decentralized system that's all based on the same model, so that everybody is offered the same care, regardless of where they live in America, but specific policy decisions in regard to that healthcare is determined by the states and their individual agencies after its implementation. But I think it needs to begin with the same model, because if it's okay for Mississippi to deny trans people health care, and while California doesn't, I don't think that you've done much for the American people. If the country allows Texas to deny fat people health care, which I don't know how they could get away with it, but if they decided to do something like that, I don't think that that would be right. I don't think that that would be helping the American people. There are a whole bunch of ways that states could fuck this up. And so the idea, in my opinion, of having it just be directly administered by the states, something that they create and administer, kind of rubs me the wrong way. I think that America could totally do with a federalized system of healthcare. Like, you're still talking about elected representatives. You're still talking about elected reps that would be responsible for running these committees. And if those committees make bad decisions, people can actually get off their lazy asses and vote those politicians out. What's your favorite movie? Probably the Lord of the Rings trilogy, honestly. I could see a standard being set being a good thing, but even then it should be used as a substitute and not completely replace privatized healthcare. I mean, even Canada hasn't completely replaced privatized healthcare. You can get supplemental insurance, to cover the costs of some things, like some things that aren't necessarily covered comprehensively by the regular system, and maybe that's a good option, I don't know. What I know is this: there are millions of underinsured or uninsured Americans still, even after the healthcare reforms of Barack Obama, and that is an untenable condition. People need to be able to get healthcare. People need to be able to get seen when they are sick. People need to be able to get seen before they're sick. When it comes to coverage for cosmetic things and things like that, maybe there does need to be a private market for those sorts of things. But when it comes to preventative care, no. When it comes to emergency care, no. When it comes to just like surgery and shit like that, for like any human need should not be denied on the basis of class or any other designator. One could, in theory, live with their smaller boobs, Everyone is being very well behaved, but there are no reward buttons like good job. Yeah, no. For sure. What did I just tell you, bro? Stop cursing. Kids are watching this. Well, they shouldn't be. If you don't want them to hear cursing, because I'm not going to modify my behavior for what my viewers stupidly choose to expose their children to. I set the not for fucking kids button, bud. You are not the fucking boss of me. What the fuck are you fucking on, bro? You ignored my Kia Soul question. What do I think about the Kia Soul? I don't have an opinion on the Kia Soul. That's why I ignored it. What's your dream car then? Now that's a good question. And honestly, it's not that conspicuous a car. Genuinely. I gotta be 100% real with you. You know what my dream car is? A Chrysler Pacifica with all the options. I'm not even kidding. I love minivans. I fucking love minivans. I love the feeling of being like elevated up in a chair. But not being the big obtuse thing that a truck is. I like the idea of having wider command over the road without the big imposing nature of a fucking truck. I like the fact that they are expandable as your family grows, they grow into the vehicle, and if I had all the options, bro, my car would be the envy of all of my kids' friends. And that would be that's cool mom points right there. Sliding doors, dude, exactly. Burp, burp. You get in, you hit the button. Highlander is not my thing. I would take an SUV. Like, I think a Chevy Tahoe would be a cool fucking vehicle, but to me, it's just a bit too much like a truck for me to say it's my dream car. Now, there are classic cars that I think are super fucking dope, but they are not my dream car because honestly, I am a fucking slut for all of these luxury features, bro. I like them. I like the backup cam, thank you very much. I like the GPS system, thank you very much. I like the Arctic air conditioning that blows fucking 64 degrees. I like the fucking heat that could turn it into a sauna at the blink of an eye. I like that shit. 8 seats, exactly, dude. 8 fucking seats. Which means even if I only have 2 kids, bro, I'm taking the entire fucking soccer game. I'm taking like the entire soccer team. Like half the soccer team at the very least. You know? Like, that's dope, bro. That's literally like suburban mom, American dream type shit. So if you're gonna ask me my dream car, there you go. That is not necessarily true, Eli. There are plenty of people who get offered very shitty healthcare by their jobs. I should know. I was one of those employees for a very long time. You know, Eli, I think you could probably answer that question by yourself with context clues. But, you know, I'm also not particularly inclined to, like, just say outright when pretty much everything I've seen you say in here has been, like, contrarian and kind of weird and shit, you know? Find another job. Right. Fuck you, got mine. Right, Eli? Fuck you, got mine. Right, Eli? You got your health care at your job, so you don't give a shit about any other worker. You don't care that their employment doesn't confer them with healthcare benefits. You don't give a shit, even though you rely on those people's labor, Eli. Even though those are people working at Walmart that don't qualify for the health insurance plans. Even though those are people working at all these different grocery stores that don't qualify for their healthcare plans. That these are people working at fast food restaurants who don't qualify for a healthcare plan, who were offered one that is subpar, that is suboptimal, that does not provide serious insurance, that provides for a wide scope of preventative care. Almost none of them offer dental or vision insurance. So you don't care about the struggle of those workers because fuck you, got mine, right? You're okay with continuing to go to restaurants, and you're also okay with waitresses not being able to afford their health care because fuck you, got mine, right? Bootlicker's got a bend knee. Yep, 100%. 100%, dude. Bootlickers and bootstrappers. Dude, I am sure this person considers themselves a strong, independent person that raised themselves up by their own merits. They don't even see all the help they don't see all the help they got until they're hanging out with their mentor at the golf course and it's time to butter them up for all their years of help. Then the distinction becomes abundantly clear somehow. Somehow, when it's just between them and the person who's given them all the money to start their businesses and given them all the know-how to make their real estate decisions or whatever the case may be, suddenly, oh man, they know well exactly how much they've been helped along in their path. But ask them when they're out in public, ask them if you're a regular person, I lifted myself up by my own merits. We know your secret. We know how rich people work, bro. The shit's been exposed. You're a man who works and gets his health insurance, right? You work at a job that provides you ample health insurance, and so you don't care about people like me that used to work a job who like didn't receive ample health care, who didn't receive dental or vision as part of their offered plan, who were expected to buy that on their own if they wanted it. You're fine with them not getting health care, with them being gouged for it if they do. You're fine with them getting overcharged because fuck you, got mine. And that attitude has led to every job but a select few becoming worthless things. Things that keep people in maintenance. Things that barely allow for human creativity, barely allow for any time at home to be really enjoyed. Soul-sucking jobs. And slowly but surely they're all being replaced, and eventually they're going to have to introduce universal health care and a universal basic income. And people like you will be shitting yourselves because you're going to be super fucking mad about it. But it's just the way it's going to have to be here in a few years. So get ready. I grew up in socialized healthcare. It doesn't work. I'll take that for $1. I'd buy that for $1. No, you didn't. What socialized healthcare system did you grow up in, bud? Cool anecdote, bro. Exactly. So did I, and it does work. Cool anecdote. Yeah, exactly. Well, my anecdote disproves your anecdote. It's just like, man, what a fucking bad argument. What a terrible argument. I grew up in it and it doesn't work. Number one, I don't know if you did or not. You'd be making that shit up, and you probably are. Number two, even if you did, there are a number of different approaches that have been tried with socialist healthcare and socialized healthcare in a number of different countries. Not all of them are created equal. I legit grew up in the UK. People die of cancer before it's ever diagnosed. People do that in the US, bro. That happens in the US too. Can you play the guitar for us? Yes, after I'm done roasting Eli over the fucking flames, like the little British pig he is, I will be happy to play some guitar for you guys. By the way, Eli, I'm being overly mean, but I really have nothing personally against you. I don't know you nearly well enough to know if you're actually a pig, okay? Please don't take it personally. I'm trying to be entertaining here for the 13 people that continue to watch. Eli's free. He can say whatever he wants. Way more often in the US? Yeah, 100%. Like, that's the thing. Cancer comes aggressively sometimes, but I've also heard of cancer treatments that happened in the UK, some of them being pretty revolutionary, so I know that cancer treatment happens there. I've seen enough documentaries covering the different perspectives of people that have lived under the UK healthcare system, and they all seem pretty fucking happy with it. The doctors seem happy with it. The nurses seem happy with it. In fact, the only time that's tended to change is in recent years when more of it's been privatized, from my understanding, from what I've seen. So it's just like, don't lie to me and tell me that you grew up under a worse system than I did, when you grew up under a system that allowed you to get healthcare when you needed it. When you grew up under a system that didn't load you down with $10,000 of debt for having a kid, or for breaking an arm, or for whatever the fuck. Bro, someone is being ardently anti-royal in the chat. I love it. Down with the monarchy. I agree. God damn the Queen. What's your favorite song to play? Probably changes from time to time, honestly. For a while there, it was Old Pennsyltucky by Mischief Brew, then it was Eve of Destruction by Barry Maguire. For a while there, it was The Stable Song by Gregorian Isakov. When I first started playing guitar, it was In Love with a View by Mojave 3. Doctors' offices have sponsors now. Boy, that's weird. Boy, that's weird. You know what song is stuck in my head? Da, 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 da. You're so far away from me. Da, 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 da. You're so far away from me. So far away from me. You're so far I just can't see. So far away from me. You're so far away from me. Play that song on that sweet lute behind you. It's not a lute, but I'll play something for you. One thing I don't get is, legit, we are all serfs. Why not make things better for all serfs? Why defend the absentee landlords and rich nobles like Bezos and Musk? Pablo, I have fucking commented on this so many fucking times. You have definitely found your people with that comment. I'm telling you, bro. I have made this point to so many people. That's literally what we're talking about. It's a bunch of robber barons, a bunch of absentee landlords, a bunch of nobles and princes. And I gotta tell you, I ain't got no respect for the nobles and princes. I ain't got no respect for the absentee landlords. I've seen what an American family can do with as little as 2 acres. And I know that there's enough land in this country for everyone who wants to live in the country to be able to. And the reason that they don't is because the bourgeoisie of this country, and I'm sorry to use communist terminology, but you can call them whatever you want. The business owner class, the rich motherfucker class, the I can buy and sell you class. They have completely fucking prevented the American people from being able to exercise our fundamental right to housing by making the constant fucking requirement of rent contingent on their ability to maintain housing. By turning us into a nation of renters, they effectively have turned that right into a privilege that we have to earn every day with our blood and tears and sweat. The reasons why people defend these people vary, but a lot of it, I'll be honest with you, Pablo, come down to the fact that some people just think of themselves as what Bill Hicks called, I believe it was Bill Hicks, called temporarily embarrassed billionaires. People who are not themselves rich, who believe that they will be someday. And so they better look after the interests of rich people, because what if they're in that position someday? They genuinely think that at some point they will have to be faced with these issues, when in fact they've got way more in common with the person sitting right next to them at the bus stop. They have way more in common with the person they're riding with in the taxi than they do with the person sitting in a fucking rich-ass Wall Street office. Not only that, they are just making things worse with their corner cutting. New homes suck, new cars suck, 100%. Like, it would be one thing if the bourgeoisie was capable of organizing the production of really quality products and really quality outcomes, but that's not what happens. The outcomes have gotten worse and worse as late-stage capitalism has taken a tighter and tighter grip. When will we fucking start demanding better? I think people are fucking starting to demand it now. But what is it going to take to make this fucking change permanent is what I wonder. Well, ABC has been demanding it, so I think it's only right that we give America's preeminent news network a little bit of music. Because they have been requesting it. Hey, we kind of look like each other. Maybe we do. Let me see. It's hard for me to tell. I can't really tell. Someone else will have to tell me if we do or not. I'm just kidding. Do you really think I would start you guys off with that sad-ass horse shit? Musk actually offers employees all benefits and stock options. Is that true? But here's the fucking problem. I've also heard Musk is like a really hands-on boss that is like you're as apt to be fired by Musk as you are to be promoted, from my understanding of him. So even if he is offering like a pretty comprehensive benefits package, it is not worth it if you're still working under a tyrant of a boss, right? Tracy Chapman. I can't play it well enough. I can fuck around with it, but I can't really play it well enough. It was almost right. Fast car. See, we can make a deal. Together we can get somewhere. Any place is better. Starting from zero and left to lose. We can get something. See, it's hard for me to finger pick and sing at the same time. I can play rhythm and sing at the same time, but it's very hard for me to finger pick and play at the same time. Always has been. You play Sweet Home Alabama? No, I don't think I can, actually. So if you have a company, wouldn't you want to make sure it's being run right, especially for the products that they offer? Did you check under there? I don't know what you mean. Underwear. But, yeah, no, for sure. But that's what your middle managers are for. That's what your supervisory staff are for. Like, if you don't trust your supervisory staff to do a good job, why do you have them hired? Those are the people you need to be looking after, not the employees themselves. You should be trusting, like, it is not good for Elon Musk's health for him to be fucking patrolling the factory like fucking manufacturing God, you know? I guarantee you it's not healthy for the man. And that's what your fucking middle managers are for, dude. I worked in a factory for a heavy equipment manufacturer. Never met the CEO. I never even met our fucking, like, division manager or whatever. You know? I saw him from afar once, if that counts. You know? It's like, these people don't go around bugging their people. Like, even my direct report when I worked at that factory hardly ever came over to the workspace. I just made you say underwear. Are you fucking 12, bro? Ay vey. Dad joke if I've ever heard it. You should be ashamed of yourself. A Cybertruck is shit and self-driving is a lie until you're not liable for an accident. Yeah, I tend to agree, Pablo. I also think that I also happen to think that self-driving is a good goal to go after. And I think that a certain kind of solar roadway might even be a good idea too. Like, I just don't think we should be driving on the fucking solar panels. Like, keep the existent road structure and just fucking, instead of making all these big solar plants and shit, making thermal reactors and shit, just like blanket America's massive interstate highways with a big old awning of solar paneling. Now, I'm sure there's some reason why this is not feasible. I'm sure there's some reason engineers have thought of already. It's not possible, why this would use more resources than we have access to or whatever. But even if it was just a section, like a 10-mile section extending out of every major city in America, every major city meaning 2 or more interstates intercross in it. If that were the fucking case, can you imagine how much electricity could be generated just off of fucking America's interstates? And how much cooler it would probably be in the area of those interstates as a result of most of the sun's energy being absorbed by these solar panels? "41, actually." Yeah, I figured you weren't actually 12. It's just like, you know what? Honestly, I'm salty about getting got. That's the truth of it. I'm a little salty that I got. But you know what? I'm high. I'm tired. Cut me a break. It happens. It was that funny. Yeah, it honestly was. Yes. Even I have to admit that once I realized it, I was like, motherfucker got me. But you know what? That's okay, because Jesus does not know about Tegaloo cats. It would require ongoing maintenance. No administration stays in place long enough. That's kind of the problem with some of these projects, right? What do you guys think about the idea that maybe if we do develop a third-party strategy, maybe part of its policy needs to be the introduction of permanent projects. The introduction of projects that if you want to kill them, you have to fucking come at it like it's a constitutional amendment or something. Because I guarantee you, if we rallied enough people to enough intelligent projects that made good use of this country's resources, we could get some shit in place that required an act of Congress to get taken out of place. One that could not merely be defunded, because that's how a lot of these projects die. A lot of people don't realize how good ideas in governance die. It's not always by executive order. Trump is actually kind of setting a new record for the use of executive order in determining presidential power. But most regimes and administrations just do it by getting enough of their base, which usually makes up a majority of the bicameral legislature, getting enough of their base to support defunding these different projects. That's a way easier way to get rid of these things. That's like they're not getting rid of Medicare and Medicaid. They're defunding Medicare and Medicaid. They're taking away massive amounts of funding from it. They're not getting rid of it, because getting rid of it would actually require some massive fucking upheaval in Congress, something nobody's going to vote for. But they can convince people to vote for it being defunded. So that's what they'll go for. And that's a tactic that's used a lot to kill these really fucking positive projects for the American people. That's why I think that some kind of precedent needs to be established whereby something can be created that cannot be defunded, that has a default amount of funding that cannot be gone under. And maybe some of these places need to have endowments, honestly. Maybe some of these need to have like a dual funding structure where it's like they get a certain amount of tax-based revenue every year, and they have an endowment that is enabled by private donations and shit. So they don't have to rely as much on the taxpayer and shit. It kind of is in the courts right now. Congress has the power of the purse, but like you said, Trump is challenging that. Yeah, I mean, it's in the courts right now, but the problem is Trump has allied the Supreme Court to him, right? Trump has had, a whole 4 years. A lot of people don't seem to remember it. I'm not saying you don't, Pablo. I'm just saying a lot of people I talk to online don't seem to remember it. But Trump already had 4 years in which he got to select, what was it, two Supreme Court justices, and he replaced both of them with, and one of them was RBG, wasn't it? That Trump got to replace with a fucking far-right conservative. So it's like, we're talking about a Supreme Court that is ultimately going to side on Trump with damn near everything. There have been very few times when the Supreme Court has even gone against Trump, right? So as long as he can keep them on his good side, and that relationship continues to work out, I really don't see a lot of this shit being challenged ultimately. I think that they'll take it all the way up to the Supreme Court, and Trump's fucking loaded court is probably going to side with him. As a person, I don't like Trump, but he actually tells you the way it is. I mean, that's, I think, what has won Trump 2 elections. If anything, if any personal merit of his contributed to it at all, I think it's the fact that he has said out loud what for years has only been whispered amongst conservative circles. Would you agree with that, Jesus? He says out loud what has been whispered for years amongst conservative circles. Yes, exactly. See? I know. I am a river unto my people. Random, but I miss Eli. He kind of lit a fire under my daddy issues. That's funny. Yeah, well, Eli couldn't handle the heat, so Eli got the fuck up out. I think it was that roasted pig comment that did it, but whatever. It is what it is, y'all. I did promise you music, but I'm pretty sure the freaking person who was requesting it is gone now, so lame. It's the commons, our right of birth, and you who would own everything all around the earth. You would sacrifice the public good for your private gain. Candle in the wind, yeah. I need to learn the song Against the Wind. Against the wind, we were running against the wind. We were young and strong and still running against the wind. I feel like that's not the right words. Against the wind, we were running against against the wind, against the wind, against the wind, against the wind. Man, all of these old songs are gonna have so much different connotation in a few years. Now you guys are just requesting classic rock. What have I done to you all? What have I done to you all? Fuck me. What the fuck am I doing wrong, okay? I might be too high to play this riff. Do you? I'm just vibing, smoking too. Okay, sweet. I will do me, and we'll play a song of my choosing then. Just climb aboard. All you need is faith till the diesel's humming. Don't need no ticket, just thank the Lord. Ooh. So people get ready for the train to Jordan. Don't need no baggage, just thank the Lord. Ain't no room for the hateful sinner who would punish his own just to gain a bed. Ooh, oh, 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 oh. People get ready, there's a train a-coming. Don't need no baggage, just thank the Lord. All you need is faith till the diesel's humming. Don't need no ticket, just thank the Lord. Ooh. Ooh. I was kidding, by the way. Asking you to play Freebird would be deranged. It truly would be. Never mind, it was a reasonable request. No. Just practicing for an inevitability, that's all. And I have a lot of love for that song. But since we're already, in a weird place, here's a song called Watching Scotty Die. I really hope I don't cry during this song. I've got a kid, his name is Scott. He's going blind and his blood just will not clot. The doctor's lining rows to stick tubes up Scotty's nose. There is the field where Scotty used to play until Ortho Orange number 42 was dumping it one day. Think it's so funny, I laugh until I cry, just me and God. Oh, watching Scotty die, just me and God. Watching Scotty die. The chemical plant across the street, it puts off steam that stains up our white sheets. It's been happening for years. Now we're crying rainbow tears. There, one day my dog went out to play. Instead of gray, he came back colored yellow. The chemical man said, stay mellow. It happens all the time. Now Scotty's skin is going line, just me and God. Oh, watching Scotty die, just me and God. Watching Scotty die. Watching Scotty die. Wait a minute. How did I never see that before? Time, every call that I had tried, and I'm giving up. A heartbreak in mid-December. You don't give a fuck. You never remembered me while you're putting on his G, getting lost in the big city. I was looking out your window, watching all the cars go, wondering if I'd see Chicago or a sunset on the west coast. Will I die in the cold, feeling blue and alone? I wonder if you'll ever hear this song on your stereo. I hope you get your ballroom door. I hope you get your ballroom floor, your perfect house with rose red doors. I'm the last thing you'd remember. It's been a long, lonely December. Wish I'd known that less is more, but I was passed out on the floor, and that's the last thing I remember. It's been a long, lonely December. Be a sign to cast yourself in a better light. I woke up sleeping, barely sleeping, but you came out alright. and I'm sure you'll take their hand. I hope they're better than I ever could have been. My mistakes were not intentions. This is a list of my confessions I couldn't say. I miss your face, you're in my head. There's so many things that I should have said. A year of suffering, a lesson learned. I miss your face, you're in my head. There's so many things that I should have said. A year of suffering, a lesson learned. I hope your ballroom floor, a perfect house with rose red doors. I'm the last thing you'd remember. It's been a long, lonely December. Wish I'd known that less is more, but I was passed out on the floor. That's the last thing I remember. Been a long, lonely December. I think there was definitely some tension built up that I needed to get out with that one. So if there are any viewers left when I look back at the screen, I'm thankful for you guys. This is awesome. Well, that's reassuring. It is hard to go to that place, but it's been a long time since I've been there. And, yeah. Is sadness accepting some degree of responsibility for a negative outcome or just the resulting hopelessness? Sadness is just an emotion we feel for all kinds of reasons. Some of which are just, some of which are unjust, many of which have nothing to do with us ultimately. Oh shit, Jesus is a fucking pilot. That's kind of cool. Sadness is the realization of what was lost. It can be that. It can be a lot of things. Sadness is a complicated human emotion. That's what I know about sadness. I could do something way more lighthearted if you guys want me to. As I was going over the Cork and Kerry mountains, I met with Captain Farrell and his money he was counting. I first produced my pistol and I then produced my rapier. Since then and never we were for the sea, back for the daddy-o, back for the daddy-o, there's whiskey in the jar. I counted out his money, well, it made a pretty penny, and I took it in my pocket and I brought it home to Jenny. She sighed and she swore that she never would deceive me, but the devil take that woman, for she never could please me. Mushroom dermada. Back for the daddy-o, back for the daddy-o, there's whiskey in the jar. I went into my chamber, all for to take a slumber. I dreamt of golden jewels, and for sure it was no wonder that Jenny drew my charges, and she filled them up with water, and sent for Captain Farrell to be ready for the slaughter. Back for the daddy-o, back for the daddy-o, there's whiskey in the jar. 'Twas early in the morning, just before I rose to travel. Up comes a band of footmen, and likewise Captain Farrell. I first produced my rapier, for she'd stolen. I first produced my pistol, for she'd stolen away my rapier. But I could not shoot the water, so a prisoner I was taken. Mushroom dermada. Back for the daddy-o, back for the daddy-o, there's whiskey in the jar. If anyone can aid me, 'tis my brother in the army. If I can find a station, isn't it Cork or in Killarney? And if he'll go with me, we'll go roaming through Kilkenny. And I'm sure he'll treat me better than me own me sporting Jenny. Mushroom dermada. Back for the daddy-o, back for the daddy-o, there's whiskey in the jar. There's some take delight in the carriages a-rolling, and others take delight in the hurley and the bowling. But I take delight in the juice of the barley, and courting pretty girls in the morning bright and early. Mushroom dermada. Back for the daddy-o, back for the daddy-o, there's whiskey in the jar. Mushroom dermada. Back for the daddy-o, back for the daddy-o, there's whiskey in the jar. I, for real, sure need to go to sleepy. Good night, Chat and Phoebe. Well, good night. I'm probably going to be getting off of here soon, too. Yeah, probably about time I do, too. It's my excavation to today is come. Everything that's coming around. I don't know that I actually know enough of the words of Regarding Stacks to play it, but whatever. It's a good song. Closing time. Turn all of the lights on over every boy and every girl. Closing time. Open all the doors and let you out into the world. Closing time. One last call for alcohol, so finish your whiskey or beer. Closing time. You don't have to go, but you can stay here. Yeah, I know who I want to take me home. I know who I want to take me home. I know who I want to take me home. Take me home. Closing time. Turn all of the lights on over everyone, everywhere. Anyway. Anyway. Okay. I'm smoking a cigarette because I'm a gross hag. This is a good crowd and vibe. Good night, Pablo. Yes, this was a good crowd tonight. This was a fun night. Now make sure you guys all hit up this channel, 10 p.m. PST. Figure out your own time zone from there. It'll be 12 a.m. CST. Well, it'll technically be 12 a.m. Sunday if you're in CST. It'll be 1 a.m. if you're in EST on Sunday. But point is, it's going to be very late Saturday night. And yeah, you know what? I've reached the end of my natural life cycle for this stream, and I'm just going to end it before I sound any more like a moron. So good night, y'all. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for everybody who super chatted, and goodbye.